The temperature outside sits just above freezing on this mid-March morning. But inside this climate-controlled greenhouse in Oberlin, Ohio, it's the perfect spring day, critical for fostering rows and rows of orchids. Vibrant purples, bright whites, and vivid pinks cover about 35 football fields worth of space here at Green Circle Growers.
When you walk in the greenhouse, it's kind of like sensory overload. You're smelling plants growing, you're seeing all different kinds of colors, you're feeling a warm temperature. And when the coldest day in Northeast Ohio, it's about 70 degrees in the greenhouse. You're hearing different things going on, roofs opening, water running to water crops, all different things going on.
Co-owner Scott Giesbrecht says orchids represent 1/3 of Green Circle's production. The company grows more than 8 million orchids annually.
You're looking at 70 to 80 different varieties, but really about 7 different color subcategories. So we grow, for example, 18 different whites, 15 different purples, but they all have little variations in them.
That color variation contributes to the orchid's high demand by consumers. It's the most popular potted plant in the United States.
The colors are unlimited. There will never be the same orchid. They're all different. Although they look the same, every plant is different.
Marcel Boonkamp is one of the head growers at Green Circle's orchid range. The splash of color that fills the space here, thoughtfully designed and scientifically engineered. A process Boonkamp describes as time-consuming, but necessary.
The only colors we can create naturally is blue and black and red. But other colors and mixes of colors, unique patterns, it's all possible by breeding, which takes a long time. In total, that process takes between 5 and 8 years.
Orchids at Green Circle begin as tissue culture. Growers use plant tissue instead of seeds to create color consistency in larger quantities. The tissue gets placed into a cocoa plug, a sponge-like consistency that wraps around the roots, which allows for easy potting transfers and gives the orchid the best chance to grow.
So a plant goes in here, sits in here, and we put those in a tray. And that's where it all begins at Green Circle.
As the orchids grow older, they travel through various areas of the facility, each with different climate controls and light levels, before they can move to a bigger pot size. One critical moment in the process mimics a Hawaiian winter, exposing the plant to a cooling period. The temperature change triggers the orchid to spike, creating a new flower stalk. Sophisticated technology allows workers to track each individual orchid's progress through the 2-year grow period at the Oberlin complex.
Once they move into a bigger pot size, then they get a barcode on the pot. We scan the barcode so we know, okay, this plant, this variety is this old, and then we keep track on that plant throughout the greenhouse.
Greenhouses span more than 100 acres at Green Circle. It's so large, some workers use bikes to get from one area to another. The company began 50 years ago by John Van Wingerden. His 4 sons, along with son-in-law Scott Giesbrecht, run Green Circle now.
The Dutch influence is strong here in terms of how we work, the processes we employ, the production methods, whether it be the structures that we grow in or the automation that we invest in.
That automation plays a critical role in plant production. Aside from the millions of orchids produced each year, Green Circle grows bedding and seasonal plants like geraniums, petunias, and hydrangeas, succulents, and hanging plants. And if you're thinking this automated helper looks familiar, you're not entirely wrong. While they resemble Disney Pixar's Wall-E robot, these helpers actually pick up and space plants. The company says this reduces repetitive strain injuries, as it removes the need for human helpers to continuously bend down.
Humans are still key, we always need them. What we try to do is to automate the things that machines can do better.
Another machine in the plant meticulously picks up petunia cuttings and sticks each one in its spot in a tray, all in a matter of minutes. Along with its investment in high-tech automation, Green Circle places an emphasis on sustainable production practices.
Our very structure is a collector of rainwater that goes to 7 different retention ponds that we have around the facility. And we try to minimize the amount of city water we use. Primarily, we are self-reliant on the water that we use that gets collected by the greenhouse roofs and then sent through filtration. So what we found in our journey of sustainability is that typically what's good for the environment is good for our business also.
Back in the orchid plant, Boonkamp shares some tips for home orchid care, including ice watering.
An ice cube melts slowly, so the roots have time to absorb the water. You can drown a plant if there's water sitting in the pot, but if it's too dry, the flowers will wilt and fall off. An easy way to see that is that a wet plant has green roots. And it's basically working as a sponge. It absorbs the water and uses that throughout the week. If they're dry, they're still really white and they're looking like this, they definitely need water.
And when it comes to engineering that perfect orchid,
So we see all of this great technology, but there's still a pretty big role for you and your team.
Correct. We can have the best greenhouse, best equipment, everything, but still comes down to having those green thumbs. We're checking all rows every day. We're looking at roots, looking at leaf temperature and greenhouse temperature, humidity. All those factors are really important and needs to be right every day.